I'm OG Los, and this is my story.
What's your story?
I came up in the projects, not far from the river. Cold nights with no lights. Many of you would tend to shiver. From the delivery of the hearse, I witnessed bodies zipped in plastic and driven to the mortuary. So many haunted tales floated through these pissy hallways in my projects, it was scary. But I still came up like a high top fade. But soon I was knocked down like the world trade. Was it something I did? Maybe it was something I said. I feel like I'm still running today like a Hebrew slave. Running from my childhood fears of being the laughing stock throughout my school years because I was up and stepping in the fly's gear. But how can I make amends to all my friends and still come up on ends? So I scanned the plot to put myself in a position to win with some of the purest, uncut dope. I pledged never to go broke again. But I was addicted to freaky women and acid tablets. I had a habit, y'all, and I had to have it. I tried every drug from A to Z because I thought the drug life was meant for me. Little did I know, and before too long, the same shit carried on from Vietnam. I drank Perrier and Shine Down while I flooded my projects with raw bundles of heroin. Into the game, I vowed with marriage to someday ride doves on a Benz carriage. But I fell nose first into my product, and now I'm embarrassed. I was convicted behind federal fences, contemplating suicide while I awaited my sentence. Dear God, please accept my repentance, because I'm not ready to die. But will there be an afterlife for me? Because I ain't got wings to fly, wings to fly, wings to fly. Yeah.
Alright. So, for the people who don't know, I'm like, tell them where you from.
Oh man, I'm from New Orleans. I was born and raised in the Lafitte projects.
Gotcha.
Not far from the river.
So, for as yourself, how it was for you growing up in the actually back then.
Oh man, I had a awesome childhood. I had good parents. I was the last kid in the family. I had two other brothers, and I was spoiled. I was spoiled rotten, bro. They used to call me the little rich boy in the projects. But it wasn't nothing rich about us. My dad just was a workaholic, and he took care of his family. But I just jumped off the porch too early, because I had all the good mom's talks, don't mess with that junk, because my brother was on that junk. They used to call heroin that junk back in the days. My brother, he was on that heroin, and he always was in penitentiary, So my mom's always told me, bro, whatever you do, don't mess with that junk, And so, when I jump off the porch like 8, 9 years old, so I could go play Little League ball in Lehman Park, because I was Lehman Park quarterback at the time, you know what I'm saying? And that's how it all started, bro. It all started at Lehman Park, 8, 9 years old. My coach was an alcoholic, all right? And we used to lose every fucking game, bro, We used to lose all our games. And I can remember when it changed over to integration, where the black Parks started playing the white Parks. Our first game was with Bunny Friend, and he said, man, I want y'all to win this game. Y'all need to drink some of this pluck. What we used to call pluck back in the days was alcohol. A little man, sweet vino. And that's what he used to drink. He used to drink that wine. And
so y'all was, I'm like 9 years old.
8, 9 years old.
Y'all coach gave y'all some alcohol.
This motherfucker offered us some alcohol, bro. That let you know where his mind was at, you know what I'm saying? But guess what? They had 14 of us on the back of that truck. Why I was the first one to say, give it to me. Give it to me, coach. and I took me a swag out the bottle, a big swag, and 2 or 3, maybe 3 of us drank the alcohol. Now those other 12 or 11, 10 people had sense. They didn't mess with it. They didn't want no, But us 3, we drank the alcohol. Now, after I drank the alcohol, the euphoria that the alcohol gave me, because what alcohol do is give you a euphoria, those dopamines go to the brain that at that age it wasn't used to nothing, no kind of high, and the euphoria I got from the alcohol set it off, bruh. Made me somebody that I wasn't. It give me that false courage. Instead of me running out of bounds when I get the ball so I won't get hit, I was running up the middle in that game against Bunny Friend. Yeah, I was running up the middle, bro. I was running like Jim Brown, full of that alcohol, and we still lost. We still lost the goddamn game. But what it
drunk and all,
but what it did, it set it off, bro. Because after the game, the 3 of us put our little nickels and dimes together and went by a Continental liquor store in Broad and Dumaine and got us an adult to go in there and get us a little man, And from that point on,
I've drinking ever since.
I'm in grade school, bro. 3rd grade or something like that. 4th grade or whatever. But on the weekend when they have the waistline parties, in the project, some people give them little waistline parties. You measure your waist, and that's how much you pay to get in. You know what I'm saying? We used to go to the waistline party, but we had to get our pluck first, bro. The 3 of us, we put together our little currents, go get our little pluck, and go to the party. And that started a 50-year drug addiction. Because alcohol is a drug, man. You see, but I didn't know alcohol was a drug then. Just like a lot of people right now don't know alcohol is a drug, bro. They'll argue you down that alcohol ain't no drug. And alcohol is one of the most illicit drugs that's out there. Just like heroin and fentanyl. More alcohol-related deaths than fentanyl, crack, and heroin put together. That's right.
Take your liver for real.
That alcohol ain't no joke, bro.
My dad and my uncle died from cirrhosis of the liver. Yeah, so I know what you're talking about.
It takes you, and then it's the hardest drug to get off, to withdraw from. It'll kill you. Because you go through DTs and all kind of other shit, and you go through the same shit that a heroin addict go through, but then you got the DTs and hallucinations and all kind of fucking shit go along with alcohol, bro. Be mindful when you're drinking that alcohol, bro. Drink it sporadically. Don't try to drink it all day long and every day, because you're gonna get caught up.
Hey, so bring us back to the year. But what's the first year you actually seen heroin and the year that you actually tried heroin?
Bruh, all right. We're gonna fast forward this thing. And skip all my teens until I got 18. You know what I'm saying?
Gotcha.
And when I made 18, I volunteered to go to the military because I was running from responsibilities. That's another thing. I never wanted to work, bro. When I made 65, 64, 62, whatever, I couldn't get Social Security because I never had a job. I always was a hustler. I was a thief, I was just a hustler, bro, and so when I made 62, I couldn't get Social Security, because they told me, the lady at the Social Security office asked me, Mr. Wilson, where you been at all your life? What you did all your life? You're not even in the system, except for the military, So that was a slap in the face right there, you know what I'm saying? So when I made 18, bro, I went to the military, and went to basic training, and I went to clerical school. They sent me to Vietnam after I finished AIT, and I can remember when I got to Vietnam, bro, because I went to Vietnam on a tab of acid, because I hadn't tried every drug from A to Z between 8, 9 years old to 18. I hadn't tried everything, came through the projects, bro. You know what I'm saying? So when I went to Vietnam, I took an 18-hour flight on a tab of acid. And I was tripping on that plane, bro. And when that plane landed in Vietnam, we got on a bus, and it was bringing us to Long Binh for what you call that? No, I was about to say inventory, but for introduction to Vietnam, we had to go and get our weapons and all of this kind of shit. So when we was getting off the bus in Long Binh, I'm in the back of the bus. I'm like the last one to get off the bus. But they got this little 9-year-old boy, 10-year-old boy at the steps of the bus holding up a vial with white substance in it. And I could see him asking each GI when they get off the bus, he asking them something. And some of them slapping him, get on away from here, trying to run him and shit like that. But when I got off the bus, he asked me, he said, "You buy cocaine, GI?" And see, I ain't never tried cocaine before. And me being the addict that I am, I was the only one on the bus that bought it, bro. Just like I was the first one to say, "Give it to me." So I'm still saying, "Give it to me." We're in Vietnam, bro. Can't wait to get in Vietnam to try all the drugs that Vietnam had. The little boy introduced me to the white substance in the vial, and I bought it from him for $2, bro. A whole gram of white substance for $2. And I didn't even know how to use it. Somebody told me what to do with it. Put a little bit in the cap, bro, and snort it. I put a little bit in the cap, and I snort one in that nose and one in that nose, and it burned the shit out of me. And then when we got to orientation, and I'm sitting on orientation, I start throwing up my guts, and they had a white cat sitting next to me. He was a repeater. This was his second tour in Vietnam. And I turned to him, I said, "Damn, bro, I didn't know cocaine do you like this." He said, "Brother, if you snorted anything in Vietnam, it was heroin. They don't have no cocaine in Vietnam." Oh, man, I went all the way back to what Mom said. Don't mess with that junk, whatever you do. But you see, it was too late. Yeah, it was too late, because once I throw it up, and the euphoria that I got from the heroin was much, much better than the euphoria I got from the alcohol. Man, and I fell in love, And from that point on, I was searching for that little boy, Either him or somebody that had what he sold me when I got off the bus, bro. You know what I'm saying? And I lived to use and used to live the whole while I was in Vietnam, bro. That's what I was. I was using heroin, bro. I wasn't even paying attention. I wasn't doing no army shit. Wasn't making reveille because I'd be sleeping too late to be getting up at 6 o'clock in the morning. They would come to my room with 2 MPs with rifles to get me up out of my room, to bring me to go see the captain, because I missed reveille. I kept missing reveille, till finally, like after 10 months, they got tired of my shit and they put me out of Vietnam. I didn't want to leave, bro. And when I left the girl, my wife, because I married her when I was 18, because back in the days, the parents make you marry them girls when you get them pregnant. But I married the girl, bro, and I left her running from responsibilities so she can get a check from Uncle Sam every month. And she was pregnant when I left. And so she had just had the baby. By the time I stood in Vietnam and shit, she had just had the baby. The baby might have been about 3 months, 4 months old. And wasn't worrying about going home to see my child, bro. See, because drugs take you places you don't want to go, dog. keep you longer than you want to stay and make you do shit you don't want to do, you know? And I wanted to stay in the rehab center that they sent me to in Cam Ranh Bay. I was still in Vietnam. I had to go to the rehab center and I had to get 3 clean urines in order to go home. You know, I was out the army. They had them put me out to give me a general discharge under honorable conditions. Today, I'm 100% disabled veteran, and part of my disability is opiate use. You know what I'm saying? Because, you know, it's record. It's in my records, you know, that I was a dope fiend, bro, in Vietnam. And that's what I lived to use and I used to live, bro. You know, that's all I did in Vietnam. The only person I was killing in Vietnam was me. That's the only person I was killing in Vietnam, bro. And so I finally left the rehab center maybe about 4 or 5 months. I stood in rehab, you know, because I didn't want to go home. Because in Barrack H, in the rehab center, them brothers over there had dope. You know, I had bought Mom's a long jean watch. I bought Pops a long jean watch. I had a ring and I had a watch. I left all that in Barrack H, bro. You know. Pawned it out for some dope after the money was gone, you know. So when I came home, I was so broke I couldn't pay attention, you know. That dope took me down through there, bro. You know what I'm saying? Took me down through there. Then after Vietnam, come home, a junkie. I ain't know nothing about using drugs on the streets in the world. We call this the world, you know. But I know in my hood, I know who was the junkies when I left, and I know there was still junkies when I came home. So I got with them to find out where to get me some dope at, you know. And from that point on, you know, from 1970 to 2009, when I got clean, I ran behind dope, you know what I'm saying? Hope to die a junkie in the end, you know. In between that, I became a millionaire in the 80s, bro. I sold drugs. I didn't sell heroin because I would have wound up being my best customer. But I sold marijuana because I didn't smoke marijuana. And I started off with like selling dime bags and ounces and then quarter ounces and then pounds. And then I decided to go to Miami because I heard it was cheaper in Miami. So I went to Miami. I ain't had no connection or nothing. Me and another partner of mine. I went to Miami. I know one thing. If I go to the club and I find one of the sweetest little women in the club, I know I was gonna find who had the weed. You know what I'm saying? Because Miami clubs and shit was real nice, man. And so I went in the club in Miami and I met this girl. I kept dancing with her. She was a little sweetie, and I was buying her drinks, and we was dancing. We were there all night. And when she started getting a little tipsy, I popped the question on. She, you know, I hadn't already told her I was from New Orleans, and I let her know what I was down there for, and she said she can hook me up with somebody, and she hooked me up with my first connection. You know, I ran with that connection for about 2 years. You know what I'm saying? And I was buying weed real cheap in Miami. Driving it back to New Orleans, bam, going right back to Miami, you know. I did that over and over and over. Huh?
But that's on like 13-hour rides.
Yeah, oh no, it was 15 hours.
Oh, 50 then.
Because the speed limit was 55, you know what I'm saying? Yeah, the speed limit was 55. It was 15 hours to get to Miami. But that was all right, though, because the payoff was so big, you know, I didn't mind driving 15 hours. Then once I started making enough money, I got drivers, you know, because I had 2 big old deuce in the quarters with them big old trunks, you know. In the end, I was bringing 300, 400, 500 pounds of weed back home from New Orleans. I started off going to get my first 10 pounds there. And by the time I finished, I was getting 500 pounds, bro.
And so you became a millionaire, even off of weed.
Man, I made so much money. I made millions and millions of dollars off of weed, bro, you know. But I was a junkie.
So you was blowing, so you was also blowing money fast as well.
I wasn't blowing no money on no dope. I couldn't shoot that much dope.
Right.
But all the money I was making. I was blowing money on making bad decisions. you know, and I was buying cars and jewelry and Rolex watches, and you know, I was married, you know, and treating my wife to all the finest things in life. I was living the life of Riley, bro. You couldn't have never told me I'll go broke again, you know. But you see, I had a wife, a girlfriend, a boo, a babuki, and a baby. You know what I'm saying? I used to go in the club 7 fucking days a week, bro. You know, go hang in the Famous 7 days a week. Go to the Touch of Class. Go to Exchequer. You know what I'm saying? Bottom line, you know. I had a girlfriend in each club, bro. You know, I used to go to bed with 2 and 3 women at a time and shit, you know. I was just partying my ass off, bro. I was living the life of Riley. I thought I was Superfly when that movie came out. I said, Superfly ain't got shit on me. I'm already Superfly. But you know, the euphoria wore off, you know, and I started seeing the ugly side of addiction, you know, and I went from fucking Superfly in the end sitting on a milk cart fighting flies across the street from the Lafitte project that I was raised in. You know, the fucking money was gone, the honeys was gone, the wife was gone. I had them went to penitentiary in '88. You know what I'm saying? And everything was gone, bro. You know, when I got busted, they took my fucking AMG Mercedes Benz. They took all 18 gold chains and about 15 rings and about 5 or 6 Rolex watches. Just lost all that fucking shit. And they ain't even bust me. I was getting a divorce from my wife, and I told her I'm going to get me a hotel room. And I stopped by this dude's house to cop me some dope, bro. But I took my briefcase out the safe with all my jewelry and shit in it, and paperwork, and about $45,000 in cash. And I stopped by dude's house to get me a bundle of dope so I can bring them to the hotel with me. Then I was gonna call my little babuki, one of them, to come up to the hotel and chill with me till Monday so I can go to the lawyer and file for a divorce. But you see how the big fella work, you know, I'm sitting in this dude's bathroom fixing, trying to get loaded. Got a whole Mercedes-Benz outside with a half a joint in the ashtray filled with crack cocaine. You know, I have a joint in the ashtray with a pistol under the seat. And when the DEA came in his house to bust him,
you was in there.
I was in there, and I was in the bathroom trying to fix. And I had a big old rock about that big, crack cocaine with me, and I was trying to flush it. And the toilet didn't want to work because they cut the water off when they make a raid. All right. They cut the water off, so all the fucking water was off, and I couldn't flush the toilet, and one of them heard me in the bathroom, and I heard the DA say, somebody in the bathroom, come out that fucking bathroom. And I'm trying to catch, because I didn't want to go to jail sick and get sick, so I'm trying to catch it. When he kicked the door, and I just ran it in my arm, my fucking arm got that big because I missed the vein, you know. He stuck his hand in the fucking toilet and got the big rock out the toilet and dragged me out the bathroom. Before he dragged me out the bathroom, he looked at me, bro, and he said, he called my whole fucking name out, dog. He said, damn. He said, boy, we've been after you for the last 5 years. He said, I admired the fuck out of you, because you always was a step ahead of us, bro. We couldn't even get nobody to tell us nothing about you. He said, but I ain't know you was no fucking junkie. That was the slap in the face. So they took me down to the feds, and when they took me down to the feds after that first day, bro, I got sick. And they took me all the way down in the basement, bro, and let me stay in a cell by myself, you know, until I kicked. The nurse was coming to give me some little bullshit-ass medicine to help me get through my withdrawals, you know. And I went through the withdrawals. After about 7 days, they put me on a tier with everybody else, you know what I'm saying? And that was when I went to jail. And when I got out of jail, me and the wifey was getting a divorce, and the money I had left, I told her just keep it, because she had 2 children for me, you know? So when I come home, the feds give me $135. That's all I had to my motherfucking name. $135, bro, after being a millionaire. I had $135. I ain't had no fucking where to stay. I ain't had no car to drive. And I went to the halfway house. I didn't know what the fuck I was gonna do. But then some cats that was in the game with me when I was out here, because I was a good nigga. You know, I was one of them them dealers that look out for people and shit. I was the motherfucker that'll go by Package Jug liquor store every Christmas and give out toys to all the kids in the Lafitte Project. Bring your voucher for the Lafitte Project and get your toys. And then after the Lafitte Project get their toys, all the surrounding areas can get their toys. You know what I'm saying? I did that every fucking Christmas, bro. I was the motherfucker that'll pass and see a homeless person sleeping on the fucking ground in front of McDonald's and when it's cold like it is out there right now, and go and scoop them up and they're smelling awful. And I'll put them in my Mercedes-Benz and bring them to a motherfucking hotel and pay for the hotel for a whole month, bro. And let them stay in the fucking hotel and give them some money to get them some food. I was that dude. So when I come home, they came visit me in the halfway house. You know, one give me this, one give me that, one give me this, you know, and say, bro, just whenever you get on your feet, holler at me, you know what I'm saying? And I start coming up while I was in the halfway house. I start coming back up, you know, because it didn't stop, you know? And I used to say it ain't gonna stop till the casket drop, from Similac to the cemetery, you know what I'm saying? And I start selling drugs again, you know, while I was in the fucking halfway house, bro. And I start making money. But the young lady that I had met when I come home, she didn't go for that. You know, she didn't want to be with no drug dealer. You know, so after I dealt drugs about a couple of years, you know, I made a decision to stop. The connection had done got busted. I made a decision to stop, bro, you know, because of this lady. And I started selling clothes. I started selling knockoff purses and knockoff Rolex watches and all that kind of shit. Real alligator shoes, and I found a connection with the Versace suits out down in Miami, you know, with the real Versace suits and Gucci clothes and shit. Was last year and year before last line of clothes. They had warehouses of them out there. It was real shit, and I was selling that kind of stuff, you know, because I was a hustler, bro. You know, I was going to get $1 one way or another, you know what I'm saying? So, you know, and then in 09, I'm going to fast forward, bro. In 09, I got clean, you know. I had reached my bottom, bro. I couldn't take no more, you know, because the last 5 years of my addiction, I wanted to die, bro. You know what I'm saying? I couldn't stop on my own. I had done tried everything. I got baptized by Paul Martin and got loaded in the bedroom. After my baptism, where I went to put my clothes on, I had a syringe and full of dope in my coat pocket. So I got loaded in the dressing room, you know, in the church. You know, I used to go to church with my old lady on Sunday, bro, and she was rushing me out the bathroom. I put my shit in my coat pocket, and when we get to church, I go in the bathroom and do it. You know, in the goddamn church, bro. You know, so when I got clean in 09, bro. I came into the rooms with defects looking for character. You know what I'm saying? After 50 years of using, yeah, I came in there with defects looking for character, bro. I didn't know how I was going to stop. But they give me a way out, you know? I went in there on methadone, but they told me come back clean, you know? And people in the rooms had to sustain from all mind-altering substances, you know? So I came back clean, bro. So I went through the withdrawals of methadone and heroin in the rooms, bro. And I never thought I could do that, you know, but they had a hell of a message, you know. They told me any addict can stop using drugs, lose the desire to use, and find a new way to live. They told me the message was hope and the promise was freedom, you know. I followed them people, man, and I got me a sponsor. I started working some steps. I started making meetings. I started making meetings, and I started making meetings. And I still go to meetings today, 16 years later, bro. You know, I've been clean 16 years, bro. I got clean when I was 58. I'm 74 years old now, you know. Because, you know, the literature say, you know, when you get clean, your maturity stopped when you started using at 8 or 9 years old. You know, the drugs stunted my maturity. So when I got clean, I had to start maturing all over again. I'm 74 years old, and right now today, bro, I still need adult supervision sometimes with my fucking thinking, dog. You know, my thinking is broke. I can't make a good decision on a consistent basis. sometimes, you know what I'm saying? And sometimes I don't trust my thinking, you know, I don't trust my decisions. So I got to go to my sponsor and go to my support group and say, what you think about this, bro? You know? Because on any given day, bro, I jump out the bushes on my motherfucking self and do some shit that's not conducive to my recovery. You know? And then after I do it, I say, damn, bro, now you know you shouldn't have did that. You're in recovery, bro. You know what I'm saying? You shouldn't have did that. You know, so this recovery thing is been the best thing that ever happened to me, bro. You know, all the money in the world that I had in the 80s can't compete with my spiritual, mental, and physical state of mind that I am today. Cause see, I was dead spiritually, mentally, and physically back in the 80s. You know, because I was a dressed up garbage can. You know, I had the Rolex on, the Gators on, the motherfucking Versace clothes on, driving in the Mercedes Benz. But then when I get in my house and take all that fucking shit off, I didn't even want to look in the mirror, bro. You know, because I was dead spiritually. You know, I didn't even want to look at myself. Couldn't stand myself. But then the fool y'all, you know, the next morning, you know, I dress that motherfucker up again and go out there in the world and fool the piss out y'all. Motherfuckers didn't even know I was an addict. A lot of people didn't even know I was an addict because I was always sharp. I always had a fucking haircut. I was debonair, bruh. You know, my swag always was tight. You know what I'm saying? But till in the end, you know, I was living in a house with 3 motherfucking tubs, with clean towels, you know, toothpaste, toothbrush, gator shoes, clothes for the closet, bruh. And I was homeless inside my own fucking house, bruh. I wasn't taking a bath, wasn't brushing my teeth. I would wake up in the fucking morning with the flip-flops on, ready to roll with the clothes on. I went to sleep with what I had on the day before. I went to sleep with that shit on, so I wake up. Soon as the sun come out, I would run out the house with the flip-flops on to get uptown to that Calio project to get me a bag of dope to get my day started. That's how fucked up I was, bro. You know, in the end of my addiction. Until I got sick and tired of being sick and tired. I can remember sitting on the steps on Seminole Avenue. And I told another dope fiend, I said, bro, because I hadn't tried to stop 2 weeks in a row. And I wound up in the emergency room, you know, from being sick. So I said, man, fuck that. I made a commitment to be a dope fiend the rest of my life. I told dude on the steps, bro, I'm going to be on methadone or heroin for the rest of my life. He said, me too, dog. And I was all in, bro. You know, I was trying to kill him. I was trying to OD. But the shit wasn't strong enough. With the shit they got out there now, that fentanyl, you know, I wouldn't even be here. You know, I wouldn't even, one more fucking week, bro, I wouldn't be here. Now the program, the 12-step program, was the last thing I tried, bro. And the first fucking thing that worked. You know, when I told that dude on them steps I was gonna be a dope fiend for the rest of my life, I went uptown and scored some dope and then fill out an application for detox from the same cat that I bought the dope from. That's unheard of. You know what I'm saying? I used dope for 50 years. I ain't never ran across no motherfucker sold me no dope and let me fill out no application for detox. You know what I'm saying? I went to detox for 3 days and I left. The nurse told me don't leave because it ain't over with, Mr. Wilson. She said, you just follow that detox medicine so you feel you're all right. When that detox medicine wear off, you're going to need the doctor, you know? And I left. I left the hospital anyway because when you know, you're done. So I left. She said, man, if you leave, go to this meeting at 1801 Canal Street. You know what I'm saying? And that's what I did. I left the hospital, went to the meeting at 1801 Canal Street, and just like she said, when the detox medicine wore off, I started getting sick in the meetings, you know. But I continued to come, you know, listening at the words, listening at other addicts share their experience, strength, hope, kept me stable, bro, you know. And I went through those withdrawals in the rooms, you know. And once I got through those withdrawals, bro, my mind started clearing up, you know, start working some steps. Start getting to know who I really am, bro. You know what I'm saying? Because that was a representative that I went to my first meeting with, that was the motherfucker that I created. You know, through me using drugs all my life, I created a monster, you know, but that wasn't me, because drugs make you somebody that you're not. You know, in order to find out who I was, I had to work some fucking steps, bro, and practice some principles in my life, you know, and just ask the big fella, you know, because that's what I believe in. I believe in the big fella. I just believe in that energy that's out there that can't be explained. I don't believe in no specific God, you know. I don't believe in the church God, you know. That's not me, you know. I mean, judge me not, you know. But I do believe in a God, you know. I believe in something is out there that can't be explained, you know, and that something is the same something that snatched me up off them fucking steps on Seminole and rescued my ass from the lost and found. You heard me? So that's, you know, man, and that energy been taking care of me, bro, for 16 years. You know, that force that can't be explained, bro. You know what I'm saying? And that's why I'm still walking like I'm going somewhere, bro. You know what I'm saying?
Gotcha. So let's jump into, you know, your new journey. You know, you about to start the podcast. So, like, what's the name of the podcast? And, like, how you came up with the process of, you know what, saying, I'm about to start a podcast.
You know, back in about 10 years ago, I used to always talk about alcohol is a drug, weed is a drug, and I used to be arguing with people on Facebook that didn't think weed and alcohol was a drug. Going back and forth, you know, and I post this every day, you know, and this one particular lady, who I used to argue with all the time, she inboxed me and asked, because I used to say, I got somewhere y'all can go, y'all ain't never got to use again. So she inboxed me one day and said, where this place that you're talking about? So I started going to get her and bringing her to meetings. She got 8 years clean today, you know? And so, you know, I had fell from that, you know? And just recently, about 2.5 months ago, I started making a lot of posts, you know, telling my story, you know, trying to help somebody, because I got a connection where I can get them in the Odyssey house, you know, a 28-day program, or a 7-day detox or whatever, and then have them start coming to meetings. They're trying to help somebody get their fucking mind right, you know? Just like I got mine right, you know? Because if I could stop using drugs, bro, any motherfucking body can stop using drugs, you know what I'm saying? The drugs took me down through that. But stop, let me tell you something, bro. To stop using drugs, it takes a whole lot of motherfucking willingness, bro. Because once you get addicted to some fucking drug, you're in the grips of a continuous cycle. You know what I'm saying? Because drugs is, you know, addiction is made of two components, obsession and compulsion. You know, once you're obsessed on that fixed idea that you want to get high, you know, and you think about it too long, your ass going to get high. You know? So what I'm doing with the podcast is putting that out there and seeing if anybody want to come in and get their life together so they won't die from the horrors of addiction, bro. Because that fentanyl and that tranquilizer shit that's turning them to statues and shit, you know. If you go on YouTube, social media, you see them all bent over and looking like fucking statues and they ain't moving and shit. That shit killing them, bro. You know, so I'm trying to carry the message, bro, to let them know that you ain't got to die from the horrors of addiction. You too can get clean, you know what I'm saying? You ain't got to die from the horrors of addiction, bro. You know, and that's my message, you know. Now, our message is any addict can stop using drugs, lose the desire to use, and find a new way to live. And that's the message I'm carrying out there, bro. You know what I'm saying? And that's it. Then I said, you know what? I'm going to start a podcast, and I'm going to start interviewing using addicts, recovering addicts, and any other addiction. But I'm going to focus on drug addiction. You know, because they got people out there with shopping addictions, gambling addictions, people watch porn addictions, sex addictions, you know, workaholics, You know, they got fucking workaholics out there too. You know what I'm saying? So, we're gonna discuss all of that. But my main focus is gonna be on drug addiction. And I shot my first introduction for my podcast yesterday with my cameraman. Because I got some videos on YouTube. I got Mom and Them on YouTube, a rap video that I made when I first got clean. Because lost dreams awaken and new possibilities arrive. I always wanted to be an entertainer. I used to win talent shows and shit in the free projects and shit, I had a good childhood, bruh. Don't get it twisted, But I got put out every motherfucking thing. I got put out preschool, elementary school, junior high school, the Boy Scouts. I got put off the Little League football team, I got put out of school. I got put out of Vietnam. And I got put in the hole when I went to jail because I don't follow instructions. I don't like authority figures. I don't like nobody telling me what to do. My total self-centeredness is the core of my disease, bro. So it was evident before I said give it to me to the coach that something wasn't right with me. You know what I'm saying? I had a temper. I broke up my little fucking electric football game when my fucking man didn't want to cross the goal line. And it was made out of 10. I hit it in the middle and put a big dent in it. And that was the end of that. You know what I'm saying? And I had that temper, And when I couldn't get what I want, I used to cut up, jump on the floor, do the alligator, slam the bathroom door till my mom and them get it for me. And I was just all fucked up when I was a kid. So the podcast, bro, is gonna be it's gonna be awesome, bro, because we're gonna take it to the field. We're not gonna sit in the room like this. We might do a few segments in the room like this, you know what I'm saying, with other people and shit like that. But then I'm gonna be taking it to the field because my cameraman, he got drones and shit. You know what I'm saying? We can go all over. He got motherfucking shit. Cameras flying in the air that'll come down right in front of your face and talk to you, And I'm going to interview using addicts on the street to see if they want to get clean, and ask them why they don't want to get clean, and and see why how long they've been using, and why they in the grips so tight, which I already know why they in the grips so tight, because addiction is a motherfucker, bro.
So I want to ask you this question before before we wrap it up. Like, what's your advice to someone that probably watched this whole interview and probably thinking about following in your footsteps, or like probably in your shoes right now? Like, man, shit, I made all this money. I'm on drugs. I gotta get off it. Like, I don't want to. But I don't want to. But I don't want to see it the worst out the worst.
The only advice I could give a motherfucker on drugs is to get off them.
Right.
Before you die from the horrors of addiction. You know what I'm saying? And just saying get off them, man, that's like talking Chinese to a motherfucker. You know what I'm saying? You can't never tell nobody to get off nothing because they told me to get off them a long time ago. You got to want to get off them. My only advice is, bro, you're going to die from the horrors of addiction. That shit gonna kill you. The only way out from a drug addiction is jails, institutions, or debt. The disease is progressive, incurable, and fatal. Your ass gonna die, bruh. Are you gonna go to jail the rest of your life? Or you gonna wind up in an institution? So if you're on drugs and you need help, look up OG Los, Addiction with OG Los on YouTube. Look up Addiction with OG Los on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and DM me if you need some help, bruh. I can point you in the right direction. I can't get you clean because I ain't God. But I can point you in the right direction if you willing and you want to stop. You can stop, bro. You ain't never got to use again a day in your life, bro. You can hold your fucking head up and walk like you're going somewhere. Hit me up, dog.
Gotcha. And I got one question to ask before we leave. Because we never got on this. You always said that your mom said don't get on that junk. But what happened when your mama found out that you got on that junk?
Well, see, my mom's was easy going. And when I come from Vietnam, my mom's had a stroke, you know, and she had sugar diabetes, high blood pressure, and all of that fucking kind of shit. So she wasn't worried about me. And then I was making so much money. You know, see, my mom died in '84. And when my mom's died, I was rich, you know. And when you're rich and you're giving your parents money, you give them this one money, you give them that, ain't nobody about to tell you a motherfucking thing about what you do. You know, because they might think you might cut them off or some shit like that. If I fuck with him about his drug addiction and this and that. Because see, I was hiding that from my moms. You know, like I told you, I had a haircut all the time. I drove nice fucking cars. I was dressed up good. My mom wasn't worrying about me. You know, she knew I was on the dope. You know, she might slip and tell me, well, you didn't stop using that stuff. You can be much better if you stop using that stuff. But she was sick, bro. She didn't, she didn't pressure me. And my pa ain't tell me a motherfucking thing. You know? Because Pops, I went and bought him a Mercedes, bro, and parked across the street because he cut grass and shit. I used to get him new lawnmowers and all that. He didn't tell me nothing, bro. Because they didn't see me dragging my ass on them corners and ducking and scratching myself on those corners. They saw me riding in slant back Sevilles and Mercedes Benz and Saabs, cars he ain't never saw before. Buying him, I said, he thought my life was all right. He ain't realize that I was a junkie to the third power. You know what I'm saying? With all that money, I remember one time I speedballed in my motherfucking house, bro. I was sitting at my kitchen table on Derby Street, the house I bought across the street from my mom and my dad. And I speedballed with some fucking cocaine and heroin together, and that fucking cocaine was so fucking strong, I ran out the house in some little fucking Fruit of the Loom jockey drawers, dog, and ran out the fucking house with him and walked all the way around the fucking block because I thought I was going to have a heart attack. And I'm taking deep breaths and shit. I thought I was going to die that day, bro. I was on Claiborne Avenue, walking down Claiborne in my drawers. You know what I'm saying? Cars was blowing at me. Shit, I ain't give a I thought I was going to die, bro. Hey. And went right back home. When I came all the way down, I did it again. But I said, I ain't gonna do that much this time. Dope fiend, bro. That's what I'm saying. If you got any family members, friends, sister, brother, don't kick them under the bus, bro. Because the drugs done already made them somebody that they're not, bro. Once they get clean, you're gonna see the real them, the real person. So don't, pray for them, bro. Don't kick them under the bus and be that rockhead motherfucker, that junkie, this and that. And that. No, man. Because that's real people.
With all your life, having kids, having grandkids and all, how was your relationship with your kids and your grandkids after, all these years of, and also you telling the story to your grandkids and kids, because I'm pretty sure, but if they didn't know, they're going to see some of this in the interview as well.
No, bro. Let me tell you something. My grandkids and my kids know my story. My grandkids be hitting me up and sending me videos that I put on Instagram. Papa, look how many views you got on this, man. 100,000 views on this thing and I read his comment on that particular video. He said, that's my papa, he all right now though, and cause he don't know none of it, remember none of that. You know what I'm saying? I've been clean 16 years. He in his 20s, but he don't remember none of that when he was young. So my grandkids know, my children know. I got one of my sons. He coming up on 2 years in about 8 days. He gonna pick up 2 years clean, bro. You know what I'm saying? I'm proud of him. You know what I'm saying? I got 5 kids. All my kids know my story, and they don't never judge me, cause you know why, bro? Throughout my whole addiction, that's one motherfucking thing. I was there for my kids, cause I was a hustler, In the end, where I got tired of hustling in the last 4 or 5 years of my addiction, where I was just, stealing money from my old lady that do hair. The old lady that I'm still with today. We've been together for 34 years, bro. Out of them 34 years, I got 16 years clean. But when I first met her, I wasn't all that bad them first 5 years. After that, it started getting, it started progressing because I had just got out of jail. But yeah, all my kids know, bro. They all right. They all right with me because I've been all right with them all their life. I ain't never been missing in action. The only time I was missing in action out my kids' life was when I was in jail. When I got out of jail, I was always there for my kids, bro.
And I got one question for you, because you have one hell of a story, but we gotta ask this. Like, God definitely has been there for you. Like, being a millionaire, especially in New Orleans. Like, did you ever go through problems like with people trying to rob you or different type of street things? Because I'm like, you don't really mention those things. That's why I was like, you gotta ask you that.
And I left that out, bro. Dog. I told you how I was. The kind of man I was, with the taking care of people and shit like that. Bruh, I ain't never carried a fucking gun. I took my gun out the house when I stopped by the dude's house to get me a bundle of dope when I was going to the hotel. I took my gun out the house because I didn't want to leave it in the house because I got kids and shit. And I put it in my car with my jewelry and all of that. And I told you the police took my car because I had a gun and the drugs together, the half a joint. Mm-hmm. So they took my car, my jewelry, and every fucking thing. But that's the only time I was carrying a gun. I went to the club 7 days a week. I ain't never had a gun on me. I went anywhere in New Orleans to score dope. Calio Project, Cross the River and the Fisher Project, the Desire Project, every fucking dope corner, and I be riding in the Mercedes-Benz Garden Scope. I ain't never had no problem. Ain't no fucking body never jacked me. Ain't nobody never robbed me, bro. Nah, bro. That ain't never happened.
That's why I say,
God, the big fella was looking out for me.
Right. And that was a hell of a story.
Because that was I used to do some dumb shit. I would go in the Calio Project in a white AMG Mercedes-Benz with Rolex watches on with a Mr. T starter kit around my neck to go by this nigga house up in the Calio Project 12 o'clock midnight at night to go get me some dope if I felt like I was getting sick. And he said, bro, stop coming back here like that, Lowe's. That was the drug dealer told me. He said, bro, stop tempting them niggas like that, bro. The motherfucker gonna catch you and leave your ass stinking. No gun. Just doing dumb shit. Dope, brother. I'm telling you, brother, motherfucker make you somebody that you're not, man. Take you places you don't want to go, keep you longer than you want to stay, and make you pay more than what you want to pay, bro.
Gotcha.
Don't use it.
And so with that being said, we're gonna, podcast coming. Everything else, it was up there, they actually see what's going on with OG Low. So make sure you tell everybody where they can find you at on social media and everywhere else.
Yeah, y'all just look for the podcast. It's gonna be named Addiction with OG Low's Podcast. Cause right now I got Addiction with OG Low's on social media. And on YouTube, you can go on YouTube and subscribe Addiction with OG Los and look at I got over 100 videos on there interviewing addicts, telling my story, because this is just a portion, iota of my story, bro, unequivocally, bro. But my story is 50 years of drug use. And 1 hour just ain't gonna be enough time to tell my whole story. So go on YouTube to Addiction with OG Los and subscribe. It's free, YouTube, Instagram, all the places. But the podcast is going to be on a whole nother channel on YouTube, and it's going to be called Addiction with OG Los Podcast. And I'm going to put the introduction up there probably this weekend, and then I'm going to start interviewing people. I'm trying to get some important people to come down and talk to me about addiction if they're willing, because a lot of them ain't ready to stop yet, and they ain't gonna come and sit down and talk about that shit, And these some well-known fucking people I'm talking about. So if I can get them to come in there, you know, yeah, that sure would help somebody. That sure would help somebody. That's all we trying to do, bro, is help somebody. And then, look, if you can help somebody and get paid too, you can't fucking beat that with a whip. Can't beat that, bro. You know? If you can help a motherfucker stay clean and get paid for doing it, you know? Because I wasn't looking to get paid for doing it, you know? I was just looking for the help of fucking body when I was on Facebook trying to help people on Facebook and on Instagram and all that. But they're telling me, now you get a certain amount of fucking views and a certain amount of this and this. Now you can monetize and get paid from advertising and all that. I mean, I'm a hustler, bruh.
Well,
don't get it fucking twisted.
Yeah, you could also get like sponsorships from you know, people that's helping out with like, you know, like mental health and like, you know, drug places. And you can get all kind of sponsors from everything.
Yeah. Well, I'm just getting started with it, bro. You know.
And like, you know, like the reason I reached out to you, because I know I have a bigger platform with all these different following on there. So I just figured that would help you towards your journey to what you know, towards your podcast. I can send people towards your way as well.
I appreciate it too, bro, you know, because my primary purpose is to try to help a motherfucking addict get clean, man. You know, stop using that dope. Stop using that dope. Stop using that dope.
Hey, but all right, we done.
All right, bro. Love y'all, man. Hey, one more thing. Whatever you do in life, whatever your endeavors are, perseverance is the key. Hold your head up and walk like you're going somewhere. You heard me?